Hey guys, Dan Habercost here, and I wanted to do a quick video on the four wealth building components of real estate. Most people just think about the cash flow, but that is really just a small part of the equation. And even cash flow is often not calculated correctly. So we're going to quickly run through all four and give examples. So in front of me, we have the actual numbers on one of my rental properties, Carousel Lane. This is here in Colorado Springs. I bought this in 2018. It was the first property I bought in Colorado. So the monthly rents from Carousel are $3,100. Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, so PITI, or the mortgage payment, is $1,471. And then this is where people often go wrong, in that they assume that this number minus this number is your cash flow, and that's just not realistic. The roof is deteriorating, the furnace, etc. All these things will need replaced in the long term. So you need to factor in some sort of amount every month for those items. Now, this house was completely redone. It was built in 1970, but the owner right before me had replaced all the major components of the house, from the roof, furnace, water heater, so on. So I'm budgeting a low amount, about 5%. This has been high up until now, but I think in the long run that will prove to be accurate. If you're buying a property that's older or it's not updated, this may need to be substantially higher. If you go buy a property in the Midwest that was built, in the early 1900s, these numbers will prove to be very low. Vacancy, I have not had a single day of vacancy in this house since buying it, but I can't anticipate that in the long term. So I'm still going to budget in a little bit every month for vacancy. I pay the utilities, and this is what they average out to between summer and winter. And then HOA is $71 a quarter, so $23 a month. Pretty cheap. It's pretty minimal. That comes out to $1,100 or $1,165 of cash flow every month. So this is just one of the four reasons that I own this house. Cash flow is great. And you want to make sure your property's cash flow, especially when you're starting out. You're probably trying to get out of your job and you want to be conservative because you don't have a lot of money. But in the long run, this becomes less and less meaningful. And I'll show you why here in the next part of the video. Okay, so number 2 of 4 is appreciation. And everyone knows about appreciation, but in my mind, I really just see it as inflation. So I have in front of me for you all to see a chart showing U.S. home prices versus inflation since the late 1800s. And especially with what's going on right now, I think holding hard assets, especially something like real estate, because it's so in demand and we're seeing such a shortage of housing, is a great part of any portfolio. The Fed has printed just an obscene amount of money in the last year here. Granted, after 2008, they did that and we didn't see any sort of crazy hyperinflation, but how long are they going to get away with that? I don't know. So there's expected to be a lot of inflation in the future. We've certainly seen prices of everything go up quite a bit recently, regardless of real estate, but real estate specifically has gone up quite a bit recently. So having a hard asset that helps hedge against inflation and appreciates over the long term is number 2 of the 4 wealth builders of real estate, and it tends to be synergistic with the others, because obviously you don't benefit from appreciation immediately, right? When you sell it or refi, that's when you can take out that cash. But the cash flow, number 1 that we talked about, allows you to hold the asset while this happens. So let's go on to numbers 3 and 4. All right, amortization is number 3. So if you think back to the model of cash flow from Carousel Lane, here are monthly payments on the loan corresponding to that property. And all I want to show here is this monthly principal. I'm not paying this. My tenants are. I included the entire $1,471 as being an expense. But in actuality, a good portion of that, and this goes up over time as you can see, is going just to pay off the loan balance. So it's building equity in the property. So really, I just see the house as an appreciating savings account that someone else pays off for me or fills for me, I should say, and also pays me every month. So amortization, although not especially exciting and not something that goes in your pocket every month, this is $422 that goes to my net worth every month in paying off this house. And again, it's coming from my tenants, not from me. So that's number 3, is amortization. So all at once, you have a property that's making you money. It's going up in value. The debt against it is going down, increasing the spread between value and mortgage. And on top of that, number 4, which we're about to talk about, it's lowering my taxes. So we'll talk about that here next. All right, to finish off the 4 wealth builders, we have tax benefits. And I wanted to stick with the same property. So as you'll see up top here, 3530 Carousel Lane. This is from several years ago when I was still just getting started. So the rents were a bit lower as I was house hacking it. I was living in the property at the time. But what I really wanted to show here is just depreciation. Right here, depreciation. This is on a small scale. It's just a single family home. But as you grow your business, tax considerations become more and more relevant, right? If you're going to make 50 grand, 100 grand, it's not that big of a deal. If you're going to make $500,000, $1 million, multiple millions of dollars, suddenly taxes become a serious consideration. So this right here, depreciation, is what the government allows us to take because the house is deteriorating. I'm not paying this nearly $6,000 every year, but the roof, HVAC, everything is slowly falling apart. So the IRS allows us to take this depreciation expense, right? There is a recapture upon selling the house, but that's a conversation for another time. And on top of depreciation, you can deduct all the other expenses that you have to pay. So those utility costs, right? Insurance up here, taxes, mortgage interest. Taxes should be on here as well. Everything that corresponds to the house that you pay is deductible. This is low. Some of these are low because, again, I was living in the house at the time, so I could only deduct a portion of it. Obviously, I do not live in this house anymore. But this right here, depreciation, is the biggest one that can really save you money. I'm doing a cost segregation study this year that will save me about 50 grand in taxes and cost me about $6,000. Again, there is a recapture to taking depreciation when you sell the house, assuming you don't 1031 exchange it. But when you consider the time value of money and what I can do with those dollars today, it's a very powerful wealth building tool when you're able to keep more of the money, or significantly more of the money that you earn, as opposed to paying it to the IRS. So that's number 4 are the tax benefits of owning real estate. So what does that come out to when you factor in everything? Well, we talked about the cash flow. That's straightforward. Then, of course, there's the amortization, the tenants paying off that mortgage, and then the appreciation. Now, it's been far more than this. I did a 3% yearly average. I bought the house at $275 in 2018. It's worth somewhere in the low to mid 4s now. That's ridiculous. That's not going to happen forever. In fact, that might come down. We don't really know. But expecting approximately a 3-ish% appreciation, or perhaps inflation, is very reasonable. So I'm looking at approximately $26.38 a month in total benefit from this one single family house that I bought on market with a conventional loan. I think I put about $17,000 down on this. That's ridiculous. This is why real estate is so powerful. And with the depreciation expense, I'm not paying much in tax on this. So what if you had 10 of these, or you had a 10 unit, or several 10 units? It starts to really snowball when you have multiple rentals doing this for you. Becoming a millionaire is not especially difficult when you invest in real estate the right way. So those are the true benefits of investing in real estate. It's not just the cash flow. There are 3 others, and they're very powerful when factored in together.